My stolen identity led me to redemption. I don't remember the exact moment I became a ghost in my own family. Maybe it was the day my father's breathing stopped, or the day his wife told me I was lucky they didn't send me away. I was 11, old enough to understand loss, too young to question lies. My stepmother, Corrine, wasn't violent. She was worse than that. She was sweet, graceful, and cold enough to freeze my confidence. She never yelled, she sighed. She called me poor thing, like I was defective merchandise. Meanwhile, her daughter, Tara, glowed like warm honey. She wore my father's last name on her school blazers, on her certificates, even on her toothbrush. I thought it was just favoritism. I didn't know I was slowly being erased. The day she said, "You're not really his, so don't act entitled," I didn't argue. I swallowed my voice like spoiled food and let it rot inside me. That's how ghosts are made, quietly. Tara didn't bully me. She replaced me. She took my clothes, saying they fit her better. She copied my drawings and won awards with them. She would practice my handwriting in notebooks, laughing like it was just a silly game. Corrine encouraged it, calling us one big family. It wasn't family. It was possession. When teachers praised me, Tara would magically improve overnight. When I showed talent, she showed up with something identical but shinier, louder, and rewarded. I watched pieces of me walk away wearing my father's name. I told myself it was fine. I told myself I didn't deserve anything anyway. The worst part, I believed it. Corrine fed me that belief every day. "Let Tara shine, don't compete with her, you'll embarrass yourself." I listened. I dimmed myself into nothing. Soon, even I couldn't see who I used to be. The first real warning came the year I turned 15. I worked hard for a prestigious art academy scholarship. I stayed up late, drew until my fingers felt numb, and prayed my efforts would finally make Dad proud, even though he wasn't alive to see it. The day of the orientation, I showed up with my worn-out portfolio clutched to my chest like a lifeline. When the receptionist asked for my name, I said it clearly, finally proud of something. She frowned at her computer screen. "But you already checked in." I laughed nervously, thinking it was a mistake. Then I heard it, my name, spoken with confidence. Tara stepped beside me, holding her shiny portfolio and wearing my birth name on her badge. The staff congratulated me for early acceptance. Corrine stood behind her, clapping softly, eyes daring me to speak. In that moment, I realized they hadn't been replacing me. They were becoming me. Corrine told me I misunderstood, that using my name was for family convenience. She hugged me like I was a crying child throwing a tantrum, but something wasn't right. When school sent documents home, I noticed my name was wrong, misspelled, or replaced entirely. When medical forms came, I wasn't listed as a dependent, just other. Corrine kept any paperwork with my father's signature locked in her office. When I asked about them, she said, "You don't need them. You're one of us." But she wasn't reassuring me. She was erasing proof I existed. Tara used my name for competitions, exams, internships. Each time I swallowed my voice. Each time it hurt more. Slowly, people began looking at me like I was the extra child, the guest, the shadow. Identity isn't stolen in one night. It's taken piece by piece until you forget it ever belonged to you. By 18, I barely recognized myself. I didn't fight anymore. I cleaned up after everyone, stayed quiet in public, and apologized for things I didn't do. Tara got awards, opportunities, praise. I got invisibility. Corrine would pat my shoulder gently when relatives visited, saying I was simple but sweet. They admired her for raising a child who isn't even hers. Everyone treated her like a saint. I couldn't even prove she was. My father's family believed her, thinking I was ungrateful and careless. Why didn't I speak up? Because no one listens to a girl who doesn't believe herself. I felt like glass, transparent, fragile, and easy to shatter. I didn't understand identity theft or inheritance fraud. I only understood pain. I didn't know they weren't just taking my future. They were taking evidence I ever had one. The more Tara succeeded using my name, the more Corrine tightened her control over me. She monitored my emails, restricted calls, and helped fill out forms I never saw again. If I tried showing initiative, she acted wounded, saying I didn't appreciate her sacrifice. "Everything you have is because of us," she whispered like a lullaby made of poison. When Tara received a full scholarship, under my identity, my stepmother threw a celebration party. Guests congratulated her daughter. I served snacks and smiled politely, invisible in my own story. Tara thanked her mother with a tearful speech. She never thanked me. Why would she? She didn't see me as the person she stole from. I was just a tool, a silent backup. The more I watched her life expand, the more mine shrank. I regretted staying quiet, but I didn't know silence could be a crime. The first crack in their perfect plan came from something small, a letter. One afternoon, the mailman handed me an envelope addressed to my actual birth name. I froze. I had forgotten how it looked in print. It was an invitation from the same art academy Tara attended, except it was for a competition they believed I was representing the school in. My heart raced. Something didn't match. I showed the letter to Corrine, hoping she'd explain. Instead, she yanked it from my hands and snapped, "This was a mistake." She tore it and threw it away in front of me. That's when I knew it wasn't a mistake. It was a secret, a threat, and I wasn't supposed to know. For the first time, my silence didn't feel like weakness. It felt like a weapon they were terrified I might use. That night, I searched Corrine's office for anything with my real name on it. I shook with fear, not fear of being caught, but fear of confirming the truth. I found a file hidden behind a drawer panel. Inside were papers with my father's signature, school admissions, birth documentation, medical insurance, all slowly altered after his death. Some documents had whiteout covering my name, replaced with Tara's. Others had been updated digitally. My father's signature was printed, not written. Forged. Tears blurred the papers in my hands. I wasn't just ignored. I was erased on purpose. My father had trusted this woman, and she buried his trust along with him. I wanted to scream. Instead, I copied everything on my phone, every page, every forged line. I didn't know what I'd do next, but I knew I wouldn't stay quiet anymore. The next day, I left early pretending to go to the library. Instead, I went to my father's old friend, a retired attorney named Mr. Sullivan. I showed him the photos. He didn't speak right away. He didn't pity me. He didn't doubt me. He just stared at the evidence and said a sentence that changed everything. "You do know this means your entire identity was stolen, correct?" Stolen. Not misunderstood. Not mixed. Stolen. He explained inheritance rights, identity fraud, academic fraud, and how every achievement Tara stole using my name was a criminal offense. I expected him to call the police immediately. Instead, he looked at me kindly. "You're not ready yet," he said. "Let them think you're still silent, then we'll strike when they need you most." For the first time, someone saw the girl I was without needing proof. I returned home that evening quieter than usual, not afraid, strategic. Corrine noticed immediately. She asked where I had been, trying to sound casual. I smiled and said I was just drawing. She didn't believe me, but she also didn't know what I had. That uncertainty scared her more than the truth ever could. Tara was preparing for a big national competition, using a portfolio filled with pieces she stole from me. I pretended to help her, just like always. I offered advice. I kept a low profile. I played the obedient ghost again. They relaxed. They believed I was still small, still voiceless, still grateful to exist under their roof. They had no idea that every stroke Tara presented, every piece she signed, and every award she won from now on would become evidence in a case they could never escape. My silence wasn't compliance anymore. It was preparation. I had to act like the obedient daughter while secretly building my case. Every time Tara worked on an art piece that wasn't hers, I took a photo, time-stamped, and saved it. Every forgery Corrine insisted on fixing, I documented. I even recorded her giving Tara my old sketches, telling her, "This will make your portfolio shine." No one suspected me. I smiled, nodded, and pretended to admire Tara's work while every file, every note became evidence. It was exhausting to wear the mask, but I began to realize something. Power wasn't in yelling or confronting. It was in patience. Every lie they told, every award they took, every misused signature was a thread I could pull. And when I pulled it, their entire world would unravel. I wasn't weak. I was waiting. Waiting until the moment they thought I had nothing left, but I had everything. Corrine started questioning who I spoke to. I noticed glances between the neighbors and even a few family friends. I had to be careful. Every conversation, every interaction became a test. I smiled at everyone but withheld information. I acted as if the past didn't matter, while storing my stolen identity evidence safely in a locked drawer in Mr. Sullivan's office. Tara bragged about awards I had earned, and Corrine laughed. But I watched, memorized every detail, every word. Their arrogance blinded them. They believed I had no knowledge. They believed I was broken. They believed my silence meant defeat. It didn't. My silence was a strategy, my smile a shield, and every whisper of trust they placed in the wrong people would soon be their undoing. One afternoon, I snuck out to a small art studio I had rented secretly. I began painting under my own name again. Nobody knew I had returned to art, not Tara, not Kareen. Each stroke felt like reclamation, each canvas a fragment of my stolen self coming back to life. I realized how much of me had been buried under lies, manipulation, and fear. And yet, creating again felt like breathing after years underwater. Mr. Sullivan approved every legal step I planned while I worked quietly in the studio. He reminded me, the moment they underestimate you completely is the moment you strike. I started understanding what that meant. They thought they owned my identity. They thought I would crumble. But with every brushstroke, I was building evidence, confidence, and momentum for the day they would finally meet the real me, untouchable and undeniable. Kareen and Tara's overconfidence began showing. They argued over minor details, one tiny lie contradicting another. Tara forgot to remove my initials from a sketch she presented publicly. Kareen caught it, face turning red. I noticed these cracks quietly, nodding each for the final confrontation. They didn't realize that while they were distracted with petty power struggles, I had been preparing for months. My identity, my art, my truth, all safeguarded in one place. The more confident they became, the more mistakes they made. And every mistake was a thread I could pull to unravel their web. I smiled silently, watching them dig their own traps. I didn't need confrontation yet. I only needed time. And time I had in abundance. The first tangible victory came unexpectedly. Tara submitted a piece of mine to a prestigious competition online. I contacted the competition secretly, providing proof it was my original work. The committee delayed judging, requesting verification. Panic flashed across Kareen and Tara's faces when they realized something was wrong. For the first time, they didn't know the rules. I stayed calm, smiling politely as they demanded answers from the organizers. I didn't reveal myself. I didn't taunt them. I simply let the truth rise slowly, like a tide they couldn't stop. For years, I had been powerless in their world. But now, for the first time, they were powerless in mine. Late at night, I sifted through old family documents Kareen had hidden from me. Letters, receipts, even childhood certificates, all manipulated to erase my identity. My chest tightened as I realized how much of my life had been rewritten without consent. I documented every alteration, every forged signature, and copied them to a secure digital vault. I also discovered one letter Tara had accidentally left behind, a confession of sorts, describing how Kareen had guided her to take my work and claim it as her own. Proof. Solid, undeniable proof. My heart raced. Every lie they spun, every moment they gaslit me, every stolen brushstroke would now have a witness, me. For years, I had been voiceless. Now I had every word they ever denied me, stored safely where they couldn't touch it. I reached out to a few trusted former friends quietly, without Kareen knowing. They had witnessed the manipulation but lacked the courage to speak. I gave them a role, collecting evidence, recording events, keeping eyes open. With their help, I could act without alerting my enemies. Their support was subtle, invisible, but invaluable. Every whispered confirmation, every hidden note they provided added strength to my plan. For once, I felt connected instead of isolated. I realized revenge wasn't just about punishment. It was about reclaiming what was taken and surrounding yourself with truth. The web Kareen had spun around me for years was strong, but I was no longer alone. I was preparing for the storm, and for the first time, I didn't feel fear. Kareen believed she had silenced me completely, kept me under her control. That was her fatal mistake. I started leaving small hints of my independence, small victories that looked accidental. A subtly altered sketch, a barely noticeable change in signature placement, a private submission of my original work. Kareen monitored every step, unaware that each seemingly minor act built a trail of truth pointing straight back to her crimes. I had become invisible, untouchable, and untamable, all under her very eyes. Every manipulation she had executed, every whispered lie she had told, was now quietly being exposed in small, surgical increments. And I relished it, not with rage, but with precision. A major art gallery contacted me for a private showing. I accepted, carefully keeping my participation secret from Kareen. For the first time, I displayed work publicly under my real name. Guests were captivated, many unaware of the drama behind the scenes. Within hours, whispers began circulating about my talent. Corrine tried to overshadow me, insisting the pieces were collaborative, but her words lacked conviction. Guests sensed authenticity, talent, and originality in me, and falsehood in her. For years, she had crafted an image of herself as superior while stealing my work. Now, in the presence of witnesses, that illusion was crumbling. The gallery subtly acknowledged me, the real artist, while Corrine fumbled for control. The tide was turning. I returned home late that evening, exhausted but exhilarated. The evidence was ready. Witnesses were prepared. Legal documents, emails, photographs, and recordings, all meticulously organized. Every detail of Corrine's deception would soon be undeniable. I felt a strange calm wash over me. For years, I had been manipulated, humiliated, and erased. Soon, the world would witness the truth, and my stolen identity would finally be reclaimed. But this calm was dangerous. One wrong move, one premature action, and the entire plan could collapse. I reminded myself, patience, precision, power. I wasn't rushing. I wasn't acting out of anger. I was acting from control. And when the moment came, the revelation would be absolute, dramatic, cinematic, and irreversible. The day finally came. I invited Corrine to what she thought was a casual meeting to resolve lingering matters. She arrived confident, smug, convinced she still controlled the narrative. I remained calm, projecting ease. One by one, I presented the evidence, forged documents, altered work, manipulated correspondence, and recorded confessions. Corrine's eyes widened as each piece landed on the table. She tried to deflect, to charm, to gaslight, but for the first time, it didn't work. Witnesses spoke, former allies confirmed events, and the proof was undeniable. The room felt heavy, charged with years of betrayal finally materialized. Every lie she had told, every manipulation she had orchestrated, every humiliation she had engineered, it all collided against reality. And in that collision, Corrine began to crumble, powerless. Corrine's composure shattered. Investors, gallery owners, and family members who had once been swayed by her charm recoiled in disbelief. Whispers turned into murmurs, murmurs into hushed panic. She attempted one last desperate gambit, claiming collaboration, insisting on partial credit, but no one believed her. The network of lies she had so meticulously built was collapsing piece by piece. Every stolen opportunity, every moment of stolen joy she had taken from me, was now laid bare for all to see. Her influence evaporated, her aura of power dissolved. And in that moment, I realized something profound. I didn't need her downfall to feel victorious. I only needed to reclaim myself. With Corrine exposed, I moved forward with a sense of liberation I had never felt. My identity, my creativity, my very existence had been reclaimed. The gallery offered permanent representation. Investors sought me out personally. I built my career on authenticity, my life on truth. No longer a victim, I became the architect of my own story. Corrine tried to maintain appearances, but no one listened. My stolen past had been turned into a triumphant present. And the bitter satisfaction wasn't in revenge. It was in living fully, freely, and unmistakably as myself. I visited Tara one last time. She had been a pawn, misguided, but not irredeemable. We talked honestly, tears bridging the gap years of lies had created. I forgave, not for her, but for me, to unchain my heart from the bitterness that had threatened to consume me. My father's memory was honored, my work recognized, and my soul finally unburdened. Redemption wasn't about retaliation, it was about reclaiming dignity. And in that reclamation, I found peace. Now my studio hums with life, creativity, and truth. Visitors arrive not for gossip, but for the art, the story behind the hands that made it, and the woman who survived being erased. Every piece I create carries memory, resilience, and triumph. Corrine is a distant shadow, a cautionary tale in my history, but no longer a part of my present. I stand taller, braver, and unshakably myself. My stolen identity led me to rediscover my strength, my voice, and my destiny. And I am finally free.